Today I'm gonna start a new playlist about learning Linux. Linux is very important for any specific individual, whether he's in IT or any software developer line or any other technical line that he may be working on. So it is Linux is a must to learn for those people. Okay, so for that I'll be making this playlist for learning Linux so that I can teach whatever I know about Linux, and also like whatever knowledge I have gained throughout this time in Linux, right? Okay, so first of all, whenever you want to try out something new, you want to learn something new, the question that arises on our mind is that why we should learn this Linux thing, right? So there are many reasons to learn Linux. Obviously, to get a job in uh, software development or any other IT field. It is not uh, the only thing that will get you a job, but it is a must to learn, right? The other reasons maybe like if someone is working in a already working in a software developer, then he or she should know that most of our web servers, like the web servers that they set up is basically Linux, right? And not only the web servers, like if we are surrounded by Linux machines, Linux software, but we don't realize that it's running on Linux. Okay, if I give you an example, like in 2017, the survey found that 68%, more than 68% of the web servers are used by Linux. Uh, those web servers use Linux as their essential component, right? Because Linux has several characteristics, and among them, the best is it's free. Linux is basically free, and it's open source software, right? So if any software is open source, it means that more and more developers all around the world are working on this to make it very efficient, right? Among other softwares, among other operating systems, Linux can be easily trusted. And the other reasons is that uh, if, as I have told you, that if you want to go to any development area such as cyber security, whether it can be data science or it can be a software developer, everywhere Linux is the first choice of tool, right? Linux is used there everywhere continuously. So Linux will be a crucial trump card. If you learn it, then you might get a job in this IT industry. Like the Darwin said about the evolution. It's a great quote. That is, it is not the strongest or the intelligent among the species that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. Like if you are very adaptable to change, you can easily survive this game. Okay, so we're not playing in game here, but it's a good knowledge to know. Okay, so this is the first episode, and today we'll be learning about Linux. That how matlab, how what is Linux. Whenever talking about Linux, then what I'm exactly talking about? Is it a software, or is it a hardware, or anything like that, right? So to know Linux, you have to know some basic terms, some basic things that are the shell, the bash, and the terminal. Okay, so these are the three things that you should learn first. What is a shell? SHELL, shell. What is a shell? So shell means like if you want to interact with your operating system, you cannot do that. A user cannot directly interact with the operating system. The system you are working on runs on a operating system. It is heart of it, so you cannot directly interact with it, the operating system. What the shell does is that it creates a layer around the operating system, so it gives access to the user so that the user can indirectly talk with the operating system in his system. Okay, so shell provides a layer around the operating system, so we can give command to our system, like to do this or do that. So shell basically is a software that creates an interface between the user and the operating system. Okay, now next thing is bash. What is a bash? And it stands for born again shell. Okay, so what a bash does is that it by using this bash, it's also a software. By using this bash, we can give input to this shell, which further passes it onto the operating system. Okay, so bash, what it does is that it takes the input from the user and gives that to the shell, which gives it to the operating system. Okay, and next thing is the terminal. What is the terminal? So terminal is the environment that we'll be working on, that will be using to interact with the bash. So terminal is the environment, bash is the software that runs in our terminal, and shell is the intermediate between the bash and our operating system. Okay, so that's it for this. You should know the difference between these three things. Okay. So sorry. So next thing is a simple question is that whenever we are working on our system, do we always interact with these three things that I have said right now, like this bash or shell or terminal? Do we always interact with these things? No, not the three things, but we definitely interact with the shell all the time, because as I have said, the shell is the pinpoint to which we can talk to in order to give our command to the operating system. Okay, so whenever we click something, or in the GUI, which is the graphical user interface, whenever we click something in our GUI, what this processes in our system is that in GUI there is one thing that is called the terminal emulator. The terminal emulator is the middleman that works between our GUI and our shell. Okay, so whenever we do something, we click something in our mouse or do something other things in our GUI, that terminal emulator takes that and it gives the command to the shell, and the shell passes it to the operating system. Okay, so terminal emulator is the middleman here between our GUI and the shell. Okay, so the thing is that whenever we opens up our system or do something, we always interact with the shell directly or indirectly. We always do this. Okay, so in this Linux we are going to learn about the system. So firstly, start with the terminal. Okay, the terminal, what I've said, is the environment. The environment by which we can uh, invoke the shell and talk with our operating system, right? So let me open up my terminal. So this is my terminal. Okay, whenever you open up the terminal, it's always looks like this sometimes. So if I just make it bigger, so you can see here, this is my terminal. And whenever you open up your terminal, you will see these lines. First line here, this line, this thing that is blinking, it's a cursor. Okay, and it's blinking because it's expecting some input to it, so that if we write something input, it can pass it to the bash, and the bash passes it to the shell passes it to the operating system. Okay, so this line, it has some meaning. Okay, this thing, this is called the username, the username of your computer. Okay, and this thing, these are the two things, and they are separated by this @. This is the username, and this is called the machine name. Like, the machine also has its name, and my machine name is like this. Okay, I'm on my Mac, so I just created a Linux image. I pulled a Linux image from Docker, and I executed that Docker image so that I can see that how this works. Okay, and this is also another thing, like this slash and then followed by a hashtag. So this has also some meaning, but we'll be discussing that in another video. Okay, so this is my username, this is my machine name, and this is another thing, it's called the privilege. It signifies the privilege on this machine. Okay, and this whole thing is called the shell prompt. It's the shell prompt. Okay, so this black screen is my terminal, this is my shell prompt, and I'll be writing some command in this. Okay, so to write some command, you can type it here, like ABCDEF. If I write this thing and if I press enter, then this will give me this output. As you can see, this output is also very human readable, and it says from the bash gives me this, that is ABCDEF command not found. So that means that there are a set of commands that we'll be using, not any arbitrary commands. We cannot give any arbitrary command to this terminal. If we do this, then the bash will instantly check that out and give us this error, like this command not found. Okay, then again there are some things that I must tell, that is, if you want to type the previous command that you have given here, like this ABCDEF, what you have to do is that you can press the upward key, it will give you the previous command, and if you press the downward key, then it will give you the next command that you have typed. Okay, so let's just give some basic commands to our terminal. There are some commands, basic commands, that are like, if you want to know the date of today, then you can write DATE. This will give you the current date, right? It's this Sunday. And another command can be, you can type DF to see the memory usage. If I write DF here, then this command will give you the memory your computer might have. It will display all this information by typing simply this DF command. Okay, if you want to see how much free space your computer may have, then you can type another command that is called free, FREE. This will give you the used memory, and this much memory is free. This is my shared memory, like this. Okay, this is also my swap memory. So these commands can be really helpful to know, and like this there are some another commands that we will learn in this playlist. So that's it for today's video. In the next video we'll be learning about the navigation among the folders and files in this Linux terminal. Like if we want to go to another folder, from if we are in one folder, if we want to go to another folder that is inside this current folder, then from the GUI we just simply clicks that folder, like, right? So how can we do that? By simply this keyboard in our terminal. So we'll learn about that in the next video. Until then, goodbye.